basketball from the SEC on this Saturday afternoon, and two teams that have defied logic early on and looking to find a place for themselves on the national map. Arizona State and Texas A&M set to tip it off here in College Station. Hi everybody, Dave Baker alongside the former SEC Athlete of the Year, the Vanderbilt great Will Perdue. Will, both of these clubs being led by a couple of unlikely and unexpected heroes.
It really is, and you start with Arizona State. It starts with their true freshman point guard in Cody Justice. This is a kid that can score, but he's more of a guy that looks to pass. The biggest praise he's gotten from the coaches is he gets the ball to the right guy at the right time. Also, Dave, over the last two games played against Alabama and UNLV, he's had no turnovers in 64 minutes. For A&M, it's Daniel House, the junior transfer from Houston. He's a crafty defender, but he's got the size at 6'7" 207 pounds, and the skill to attack the basket and the strength to finish. Coach Billy Kennedy is hoping to make this guy into their closer, and it's already paying dividends as he's hit the game-winning shot against Sam Houston State on Wednesday.
The reason they were unexpected, Justice grew up about a stone's throw from the Arizona State campus, and Herb Sendek had to be talked into the fact he could be a point guard. Jerry Blake's maybe one of the best transfers in the country. McKissick, Atwood, and Eric Jacobson giving the Sun Devils some unexpectedly good minutes this year. And for the hometown Texas A&M Aggies, they've only lost once this year. Daniel House was a transfer from Houston. He got an NCAA hardship. They weren't expecting him to be able to play this year, but what a difference he's made. Alex Caruso, the hometown kid, along with Allen, Jordan Green, and Courtney Robertson, who has played a bunch of basketball for the fighting Texas Aggies. They come in with a record of 5-1. Arizona State 5-2. The Aggies in the white. Arizona State in the road dark, and we are playing in the SEC.
One of the things that Texas A&M was working on in their practice yesterday was looking to spread things out, open it up, so they could use some driving lanes, because when you talk to the coaches for A&M, the one thing they're concerned about is their ability to score consistently. Very streaky so far this year.
And there is Billy Kennedy in his fourth season as A&M head coach. You see just to his left there is the former Mississippi State head coach Rick Stansberry, one of the additions to this A&M coaching staff this year that has not only made a difference on the court, but certainly in recruiting. They have #3 nationally ranked class for next year. On the out of bounds, Arizona State has gone zone. And House, who hit the game-winning three against Sam Houston State, misses his first of the day.
You'll basically see Texas A&M play man-to-man. Occasionally they will change it up to try to throw you off balance, but they will extend well past the three-point line.
Kick out, jump shot. Atwood knocks it down, and that's a good sign for the Sun Devils.
And that's a team that shoots 42% from behind the arc. They love the three-point shot.
What a nice give and go. And Robertson will have a chance to match Arizona State with an old-fashioned three-point play.
He's the emotional leader of this team, David. He is the guy that kind of gets this team going. He talks to the team in the locker room, but how about he turns his body sideways so that he takes his left shoulder, puts it into the defender, initiates the contact, and he keeps his shoulder square to the backboard. That way the ball cannot get blocked unless somebody comes from the weak side.
Robertson, a senior from Arcadia, Louisiana, now playing in his 116th game for these Aggies. He's the last member of a Texas A&M squad that played in an NCAA tournament game, and that was the last game coached here by Billy Gillespie. Three-pointer launched again. That time it's Justice. Boy, and Herb Sendek comes from that Rick Pitino coaching tree. They really revolutionized college basketball early on with that three, and Herb has stayed with it over the many years that he's been a coach now.
Right now, House, the guy we were talking about, just trying to make his go-to guys, had two good looks at the basket, just hadn't been able to knock them down.
2 buckets for ASU. They've both been triples.
And how about this? I immediately talk about them being a man-to-man type team, Texas A&M. This time down the floor, they play a 2-3 zone.
They're able to cut things off from the outside, but there's Jerry Blakes out of San Bernardino Valley College, and ASU perfect from the field to start this game.
Well, how about the shot fake, which gets the defender off his feet, and then he's able to knock down the mid-range jump shot.
Green got a good look. And ASU comes out of there with it. McKissick threw it away.
That's where House has got to look to be more aggressive. When they have numbers like that, spread the floor out, and I talked about he's got that size, 6'7", 207. You need to look to attack the basket. He showed some uncertainty there that time, and that's because he's only played 3 games with his team.
Both teams have really infused their lineup with talent. 7 new faces on this Arizona State team for Herb Sendek.
And both these coaches also willing to go with transfers and junior college players to try to have immediate impacts.
Boy, House passed up what looked to be a good shot. Caruso, though, got a really good look, and that's nice patience by A&M.
It's also a nice job of A&M getting back. And that's very few times where you see Cody Justice force a pass like that.
You see that career coaching record for Herb Sendek back in 1993. He took over the program at Miami of Ohio at the age of 30. And he is the 3rd youngest coach in Division I to reach that win plateau.
And if you have any question what coaching does to you, look how smooth it is on the top of his head.
We were talking about that last night at the hotel. I knew him back in the Lexington days. He said, "You haven't lost any of your hair." I said, "You didn't have any when you were there."
But the one thing that Sendek has done is that he brings what he thinks are maybe his best 2 players, seniors, off the bench, so he has that experience in scoring.
Justice was turned over. And the one real thing that this A&M staff has not been pleased with, they've been incredibly happy with everything, but this is a basketball team that is not finished with regularity so far this year.
And a lot of times that has to do with shot selection. But the one thing they will do, they will show patience. They will force you to play defense in the half court, but then that a lot of times leads them to taking bad shots late in the shot clock.
Boy, Caruso does such a good job of penetrating. He started that sequence, and Jordan Green finished it.
And let's not forget, Caruso led the SEC last season in almost 8 assists a game. This year, down to 6 early on.
There's Caruso again, and he'll have a chance for the and one.
That's what you like to see from players. When you look to attack, you get the ball in the middle of the floor to try to stretch out the defense, Dave. If that defender cannot set his feet, you continue to go at him until he can do so. If not, you finish at the basket, and that time he uses the backboard, and hopefully he can complete the 3-point play.
Texas A&M going at it with Arizona State despite the Sun Devils' hot early shooting. It's the Aggies with the early 2-point lead. Fans catch the top college basketball team in the nation Sunday only on the SEC ESPN network. It's an in-state showdown as number 1 Kentucky coming off that big win last night over Texas. They're unbeaten. They take on Eastern Kentucky in Rupp Arena. EKU in Kentucky Sunday at 6. The SEC ESPN network, and watch ESPN.
And Dave, when you look at what Texas A&M tries to do, they've already had 3 turnovers on the defensive end of the floor, but they do an excellent job of taking those turnovers, converting them into points. Right now, points off turnovers, 5-0, Texas A&M over Arizona State.
Alex Caruso, 2 of 2 from the field. He's got a rebound and an assist already. And he steps to the line to try to complete the and one.
And sometimes when you struggle to score, which A&M does at times, it can be more about volume than actual quality of shots. And right now, Texas A&M's doubling up Arizona State, 8 attempts to 4.
Caruso, the former A&M ball boy, heads to the bench. Number 3, Alex Robinson, 6'1" freshman from Arlington, Texas, in there now. Also, Trey Holder, number 0, 2 new point guards in there now into the ASU lineup. He started the first couple of games before giving way to Cody Justice.
But it's the 2 guys that he has in there right now. When you talk about guys he thinks stabilizes them, 31, John Gilling. And also now he's talking about brings in a scorer in Shaquille McKissick.
Gilling, 6'7", 219, a senior from Rungsted Kist in Denmark.
And he's very fluid in his shots. But right now, this pressure from Texas A&M is causing some problems for Arizona State. I had the opportunity to talk to head coach Sendek from Arizona State. He was concerned about this. He felt that from a defensive standpoint, this would be their best test yet early on this season.
Gilling is much more fluid with his game than I am with my Danish.
He's one of those guys, when you see him shoot, it surprises you actually when he missed because he's so fluid.
Wow. Talk about fluid. How about that crossover by Jordan Green?
Well, he finds the seams in the defense, has the ability to avoid the defender and get that shot off with the left hand.
I believe it's 5 straight possessions now that Arizona State has gone without a basket. Nice defense inside. Tony Trocha Morelos got the steal. But McKissick got the bucket and will have a chance for another at the offensive end.
And then again, as you talked about, a guy like Jordan Green's back on defense. He's got to make a decision for Texas A&M. He ended up finding himself stuck up underneath that basket. You got to force this guy to pick it up. I'm sorry, that was Robinson. He has to extend himself out there, force him to make that pass. He kept giving ground, and then by the time he realized where he was too deep.
Offensive rebound off the missed free throw, and McKissick goes 1 for 2. Boy, will that make Billy Kennedy unhappy.
Whoops. You can see the angle of that pass as it left its hand. That unfortunately, that was going into the first row. Look at this miscommunication by Texas A&M that time. Nobody extends out to play defense. He sees a hole straight down Main Street, as they call it. He's able to get to the basket.
Blake's back in there for ASU. Peyton Allen, number 22, talented freshman in there for A&M. And there's the guy you were talking about, John Gilling, averaging 11 off the bench. He's a 60% three-point shooter.
This is a guy that started 71 games up till last season. And then Sendek decided, I'm going to try something different, bring him off the bench. It's been a positive result ever since.
Another good move by the Aggies offensively. That was Trocha Morelos. But once again, Will, they can't finish.
Well, they talked about Trocha Morelos as a guy that doesn't have a lot of experience, but they feel he can become a very good player. First of all, he's got the length, he's got the athleticism. That they talk about he's got to show some patience. He gets a little excited when he gets that ball in his hand sometimes.
And that's nice execution off the inbound play. Flat-footed rebound as Robinson comes out of there with it.
Arizona State loves that three-point shot. They will not hesitate. You give them a little bit of a space, you can plan on that thing being launched.
And they're going to call an illegal screen.
And that right there is the responsibility of the guard. Freshman Peyton Allen has to wait for the big to come over and set that screen so that once the screen is set, he can bring it off that screen and you don't have that foul. It's not necessarily the fault of the big man Space that time, who's late.
Antoine Space called for the offensive foul. He goes out. Devontae Fitzgerald, 6'7", 209 sophomore from Atlanta, wearing about 15 in there for the first time. And how about that play? Robinson got beat, and then recovered with a block.
Yeah, he did a nice job of staying with the play. He gets beat, but he doesn't give up. But as an offensive player, you have to keep that ball in front of your body. They talk about ball, body, defender.
Bo Barnes, number 33, who just checked into the game for Arizona State. Allen whistled for the foul. Barnes is an interesting story now. Started in Hawaii. His dad has been competing on the pro rodeo circuit. He's been a champ for like about 30 years.
I'd say he knows the definition of toughness.
Went to China with a team back in August to get some extra playing experience. Oh my goodness. You know, we heard so much about Jerry Blakes, and Herb Sendek put it this way. He said the guy can just score. You can tell the way he carries himself on the court that he's looking for it and he knows what to do with it.
There's no doubt about that. We've had 2 fouls now on Texas A&M that you may classify as touch fouls, especially with the aggressiveness of which Texas A&M plays. Very surprised by that from the officials.
Well, and that's going to be one. That's the second on Caruso, which is going to send him to the bench. And it was that kind of foul trouble, including early foul trouble on Caruso the other night, that Billy Kennedy believed kind of bogged them down against Sam Houston State.
Well, what was it against Sam Houston State? They were down. They were up 11-0.
Right.
He picks up his second foul, has to go to the bench, and then they're a totally different team, and that thing becomes a knockdown, drag-out, 40-minute fight when they thought they were on the verge of blowing Sam Houston State out.
So A&M down 2 at about the 12-minute mark. When Caruso goes out this time, we'll see what happens. Oh, how about that? Looked like Holder might have gotten away with an extra step, but in any event, it leads to a bucket by the junior from Memphis, Willie Atwood.
Well, he does a nice job, again, attacking the basket. Once the defender comes over and picks him up, he dumps it off.
A&M really started attacking from the outside, and it's been a while, and I'm sure you're attentive to this, since a big touched it inside. Green couldn't get that one to go, and Gilling couldn't hang on to it. But A&M giving way to the penetration by the Sun Devils, who lead it by 4. Would be the toughest opponent is A&M Fighting Aggies have faced this year. And here at Reed Arena, Arizona State with a 4-point lead will produce. Biggest reason, the outside shooting.
Well, first of all, it starts off with penetration. If you can get somebody that can handle the ball, penetrate and collapse the defense, you can find guys on the perimeter that can get uncontested looks. But Arizona also does a very nice job, Dave, of just passing that ball from one side of the floor to the other and forcing the defense, in this case Texas A&M, of having to get out and extend themselves and guard guys well beyond the three-point line.
I think the other thing that happens as well, and you can speak to this, Will, with all those years you played professionally, when you emphasize a part of the game the way that Herb Sendek emphasizes three-point shooting, it's not only those guys that penetrate, but the shooters know where the open spots are going to be to get the basketball once that penetration happens.
Now, there's no doubt about it, but at the same time, it's not pass the ball around the perimeter. You have to provide penetration either on the pass or the dribble.
I believe that Jordan Green heard what you were saying about penetration as well.
But I also think he heard from Billy Kennedy saying, hey, we're falling into the type of game that Arizona State wants to play. We're not necessarily a very good three-point shooting team, as Texas A&M is only 2 of 7 here early. We need to get the ball into the post, or we need to penetrate and attack the basket. Right out of the timeout, they get it done.
And Jerry Blakes, he goes to the Arizona State bench.
You know, it's interesting. Every
with
time,
his second foul.
Sorry about that. Every time we look at the Texas A&M bench, you see Coach Stansberry. He's the assistant coach, but the reason why he's constantly standing up is this was his scout. He was letting Texas A&M know what's going on. And
Billy Kennedy's head is about to spin off his shoulders, because look at this. And Billy's not a very demonstrative guy, but last time down, Trey Holder blew by everybody for an uncontested layup. And that's just a question of not rotating around. Sunday at 10 on the SEC ESPN Network. Join our network analysts as they discuss all the SEC news of the day on SEC Now. That's also available on Watch ESPN. That'll be a big show tomorrow night. It'll come a day after the SEC football championship. It'll come hours after the college football playoff is announced and all the bowl pairings are announced. So that's Sunday at 10 on SEC Now.
Well, that penetration by Arizona State, and they consistently get in to the paint, has allowed them to shoot 72% here early, 8 of 11 from the field.
I mean, Holder has got a nice burst on him, but he just like blew by everybody. Out of the timeout. Arizona State extends the defense a little bit. Avery Johnson Jr., 182-pound freshman from Houston.
I played with his father in San Antonio, won a championship in '99.
Avery in there wearing number 0.
And he comes in to provide a little speed for this Texas A&M team and hopefully stay in front of Arizona State.
Jordan Green now with a task, trying to stop Trey Holder. Look at him go.
Look at that pass into the paint, collapses the defense. Good rotation on the perimeter, leaves a man wide open on the perimeter for an uncontested three-point shot.
And along the same lines, Holder knew exactly where that hole was going to be, and that's where he spotted up. Just really some nice execution by Herb Sendek's club. And they're going to call Devontae Fitzgerald for the hook. As he heads over toward the A&M bench, and Arizona State has opened up its biggest lead of the afternoon at 8.
Well, that time down the floor, Devontae didn't have anything. So if you don't have anything, pull the ball out and pass it around. You can't necessarily beat the defense just off the dribble on the same side of the floor. You have to force the defense to work.
Penetrate and pitch. Penetrate and pitch. Somebody gets open. That time it was Eric Jacobson when everybody went flying out to the three-point line.
Well, Jacobson does a nice job of hiding himself up underneath the basket so the defense can't find him.
Boy, and this is a critical spot for Texas A&M right now.
This is that area when you talk to Billy Gillespie about where they just struggle to score points, and they hit some dry spells where it's just they can't hit anything.
Wow. Look at Holder.
Remember, Trey Holder started out the season as a starting point guard, but
yeah.
I mean, he's going through this defense like a hot knife through butter.
Now you can legitimately ask, is he getting by with a little more of a euro or a hop step? But his speed is without question, as the lead is now ballooned to 10.
But that's when you talk about when a team starts to struggle on the offensive end, which Texas A&M is doing right now. Shots like that look like they teeter on the verge of going in or going out, even they roll out. But now this is where a team, Jones has got to step up, knock down these 2 free throws, stop the hemorrhaging on the defensive end, get them some positive to look at.
My memory is not nearly as good as it used to be, but Jalen Jones steps up and hits that free throw. And before that, I believe that was a 9-0 run that, not coincidentally, took place the moment that Alex Caruso went to the bench with his second foul.
Well, you mentioned it. At basically the 12-minute mark, he stepped out. It was 17-15, Arizona State. Now, after knocking down those 2 free throws, it's 28-20. They don't have their assist leader out on the floor. They have to find a way to run their deep offense, execute, and get some open looks at the basket, but not just jump shots. Get that ball into the post. There's a big man out there that has some skill in Courtney Robertson.
Justice McKissick. There's Atwood with the open jumper. And it's Jacobson that got the offensive rebound, and that's the one thing that Arizona State needs, or doesn't need rather, is 2 extra possessions.
Look at this, penetration, kick. Ball goes from one side of the floor to the other. You don't see an air ball much from Arizona State.
And you don't see him get 3 chances on one trip and come up empty very often. Nice drive. Alex Robinson, the freshman from Arlington.
Well, he uses the guys as they run down the middle of the floor to pick off his defender, and then he gets himself to the basket and finishes with the left hand.
There's that three-point shot. Shaq McKissick.
But it's the penetration which is now drawn in the defense for Texas A&M. The individual defenders now, Dave, are very hesitant to go all the way out to the three-point line to defend.
Robinson with back-to-back baskets.
Look how quickly Arizona's bringing it down the floor, though.
Oh my gosh, Barnes is a guy that is just pushing it like nobody's business. After that miss, ASU now 5 of 10 from outside the arc. They lead the Aggies by 7.
Well, we got to do a better job on defense. Getting back, all right, knowing personnel, not leaving 31, 33, know where they're at. Guard the driver. Let's go. Defense on 3. 1, 2, 3. Defense.
Dave, this is a Texas A&M team that usually holds its opponents to 36% from the floor, but right now they're getting beat on the dribble. Their defense is struggling to keep up. Arizona's shooting 12 of 19 for 63% early. Huge reason why Texas A&M is down 7, 31-24.
You heard Billy Kennedy on our SEC Wired feature. We're in the microphone today. He said you got to know where that guy, John Gilling, is. You got to know where Bo Barnes is. But the bottom line is, everybody has been productive for the Sun Devils. 7 of the 8 guys that Herb Sendek have gone to have scored. And that's a good sign for Coach Kennedy right there as Jalen Jones hits on a turnaround.
Yeah, nice job that time of catching the ball, gathering himself, but being patient, and then going away from the defense to score with the right hand.
Boy, and Trey Holder got by somebody again. He drew the foul on Robinson.
Well, Trey Holder does a nice job of just reading the defense, setting the guy up, and his lateral speed is impressive as far as that first step going left or right.
See if you agree with me on this. It's almost like you can bring Justice in if you're Arizona State, who is more of a true guard, and Holder is kind of your lead guard that has got the potential to be explosive offensively.
There's no doubt about it. Justice is more of your prototypical point guard who looks to advance the ball, find the open man, set others up for scoring opportunities, where Holder, because of his quickness, does a nice job of just getting into the paint, but he also does a nice job of reading the defense. If nobody picks him up, he looks to score. If a guy slides over, he then finds the open man. You'd be surprised sometimes when you talk to players, and in this case, Holder, who had to go back to the bench. But if they use it as a positive in the sense of reading the defense, reading how things are playing, it's much easier for them when they step on the floor coming off the bench to adapt to what's going on the floor.
Boy, and that is just one of those deals that Daniel House just got a bit impatient. Has not been his afternoon so far, and he had nowhere to go and tried to create some space, and instead commits the offensive foul. And House, just 1 of 3 from the field, does not have a rebound.
And that's where he has to understand, instead of putting his head down outside when he grabbed that ball, it's almost like he put his head down and was going to the basket regardless. You got to stop, knock down that mid-range 7, 8-foot shot when you see that big man just waiting for you to take the charge.
Boy, in virtually every measurable you could look to, Arizona State outperforming A&M to this point.
And there's your guy, Trey. How about that? The whole defense was inside the paint. The presence that time of the junior, Jacobson. He sees, he counts the numbers. He's like, there's got to be somebody open on the perimeter.
Boy, Jones trying to single-handedly keep A&M in this right now with Caruso on the bench for what looks like it might be the rest of the half with those 2 fouls.
But they got to be able to make some stops on the other end of the floor. I mean, their offense has started to pick up now. But again, the inability to make stops, they can't cut into the lead.
Tough to make those stops when the other guys are 6 of 11 from outside the arc. Gilling has hit both of his triples. Are you kidding me? Herb Sendek has this look on his face like, oh my gosh. That was not the shot he wanted. But when a guy's feeling it like that, you get it to him, don't you?
But watch how this play develops. Jacobson gets it in. He doesn't really have anything. He sees a man wide open, and you're talking about a guy that shoots 60% from behind the arc. Usually, that's a guy that has an X on his chest, and the coach is telling you don't leave this guy regardless.
Oh my gosh, is he feeling it?
Whoops. I think Trey Holder was surprised that Gillen gave it up.
And I think Gilling, I thought he might be coming out. Instead, Barnes heads to the bench, and Roosevelt Scott, 6'4" junior from St. Paul, Minnesota, transfer from Indian Hills Community College, into the lineup. And Will, this is an A&M team. Billy Kennedy knows he's in a tough spot, down 11. So Caruso back in there now with those 2 fouls at the 4:45 mark.
He really has no choice. And that's just a bad shot selection by the big guy, trying to make something positive happen, even though Texas A&M picks up the offensive rebound. That's not what Billy Kennedy wants from the big fella. He wants the big fella in the paint, wrestling with those guys, trying to generate second chance opportunities.
No surprise, though, at who it was that found that loose ball. It was Caruso.
It's amazing how some guys just are always around the basketball, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. ASU 7 of 12 from behind the arc. And McKissick, with 1 second on the shot clock, finds Jacobson for the easy 2, and that's the kind of afternoon it's been for the Aggies.
But you can't praise him enough for perusing the defense, getting himself up in the air, and still finding the open man with time on the shot clock.
This time, Jacobson is going to be called for the block. But it's one of the few errors that Arizona State has made. Alex Caruso in foul trouble. Back in trying to help his club. But Jacobson there on the inside. State Farm halftime report. We'll join Dari Noka, Booger McFarland, and Greg McElroy. A preview of the SEC Football Championship game. It's about 90 minutes away. Highlights and stats from the first half here. Take a look at Kyle Field just next door. The Aggies certainly have aspirations of playing in that SEC championship game. Of course, the other new member of the SEC, Missouri, back in there again to take on Alabama. And you want to talk offensive efficiency? That's kind of the difference, wrapped up in a nice little bow right there. 7 of 12 from outside the arc. For the Sun Devils of Arizona State, 58% from the three-point line, 68% from the field, against a team, Will Purdue, that defensively has not allowed an opponent to shoot 40% this year.
They haven't, but they've done a nice job with ball movement, one side of the floor to the other on the pass. But I've been very surprised by their ability to consistently penetrate the exterior of that defense, get into the paint, and find the open man. And then when the defense does slide over, the secondary man does not slide out to the perimeter, and then Arizona State's getting wide open looks from behind the arc.
Back to work go the Sun Devils offensively. That time they do a nice job. They didn't give McKissick a passing lane, and they got a piece of his shot.
Green has done a nice job early of finding a way to put that ball on the floor and attack the basket, but this is the guy that needs to get going for Texas A&M. House. He's struggling right now to figure out how and where to score on this floor as Arizona State extends that 2-3 defense.
Only one field goal for House. Morelos thought he got hit.
But again, why is Morelos out on the perimeter shooting jump shots? That right there, big fella, will get you the hook and take you to the bench.
That's the question that Billy Kennedy was asking as he went to his bench and brings in for the first time today number 45, Dylan Johns, 6'11", 231-pound sophomore from Ipswich, England.
You wonder sometimes if maybe he looked over there and said, hey, I'm coming out. I need to get a shot up. That is a little selfish.
Wow. Are you kidding me? I mean, Alex Robinson is a quick, good defender, and Trey Holder just blew by him.
He did, but part of how that is being developed is, as a guard, if you see a screen coming, you have to send the guy, look, you have to send the guy to the screen. You can't let him go the opposite direction. Your job as a defender, if the big is telling you in that case, screen left, screen left, screen left, you have to send your guy to the screen. You can't let him go the other way because the big's the one that came out and set the screen. That means that it's wide open at the paint. You get by that initial line of defense, there's nobody there to contest the shot.
And that's why John's time on the court was limited to about a minute. Holder hits both free throws. And the Sun Devils now with their biggest lead of the afternoon at 13. Caruso tried to create something better. Ooh, that is a tough, tough shot. Another guy who's quietly played well for A&M today has been Jalen Jones.
Yeah, he's been their offense for the most part.
Here's Caruso.
Oh, surprise, surprise for Mr. Caruso. I think there was a little frustration there in that dunk. I thought for sure he was just going to lay that up, Dave. He gets himself out there, fights for that ball, and Trey, I'm not so much sure if that was a foul, but just because he had that left hand on his backside, the official trailing the play makes the call.
Herb Sendek takes a 30-second timeout. You know, Alex's dad talks about the fact that young son got his ups, as you guys like to say, from his mom. Coming up, number 19, Georgia hosts the 16th-ranked Michigan State Spartans Sunday on the SEC ESPN Network. Coach Andy Landers has the Lady Bulldogs off to a solid start. Got a great defense, and they're always really good rebounding. Now they'll be put to the test by an intense Michigan State squad determined to steal a win in Athens. Michigan State, Georgia, Sunday at 4, only on the SEC ESPN Network. 12 points the lead had grown to. It was only 1 or 2 when Alex Caruso went out. Billy Kennedy had to come back to him, even though he had the 2 fouls. And boy, has he made a difference. Caruso 4-4 from the field. He's hit his only triple. He hasn't missed his only free throw. 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 10 points. Fair to say that he is invaluable to this Aggie basketball team.
Nicely done keeping that ball alive, keeping it in play. Now, shot quality here is important. You take some time off the clock, so what? Get shots at the basket, not necessarily on the perimeter.
Here is Caruso, and he got a good look.
Unless, of course, you get a wide open shot, but you still have to have the ability to knock it down.
House kept it alive. Another good look for the Aggies, and they couldn't get it to go.
But again, as you just pointed out, good look in the paint. Unfortunately, couldn't get it to drop, but they did get themselves 3 opportunities on that one possession.
Now, if you're A&M, you don't want to give up a quick basket or 2, especially the way ASU has shot.
The Texas A&M, a man-to-man defensive team because of the penetration they continue to give up. Now employing a 2-3 zone, trying to keep Arizona State out on the perimeter.
Shot clock at 5. I don't know if McKissick sees it. Gilling had to force it, and that's a good defensive trip for the Aggies.
And now you're in a position for Texas A&M where you can go 2 for 1.
Jones nowhere to go.
You know, he picked his dribble up prematurely. He should have kept going. And I talked about that they were bringing it down though, Dave. 2 for 1. There's no difference in the shot clock and in the game clock. If you're going to have the opportunity and you're down, you need to work on getting those 2 shots for 1 and try to cut into that lead going into halftime. Took too much time to run that play.
So Arizona State now is going to get the last shot. Less than a second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. The Sun Devils are going to go up either 9 or double digits. Barnes on the drive, got the floater to go. And virtually everyone on this ASU team who got onto the court in the first half able to make a contribution. That was the first bucket of the afternoon for Bo Barnes.
And that's actually good defense by Jordan Green. But watch how everybody at Texas A&M slump shoulders. They're going to have to find a way to regain themselves and get some energy coming into that second half.
To the studio with Dari Noko right after this. This halftime report is presented by State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. Set to go here in the second half at Reed Arena. Dave Baker, Will Purdue here with you. Arizona State with a 45-34 halftime lead as we take a look at the first half numbers, Will.
And the biggest thing is you talk about the ability of Arizona State to knock down a three. Coming into this game as a team, they were shooting 42% from behind the arc here. They're 7 of 13. The bench points is a little misleading because one of the things that they've done at Arizona State is they brought some seniors that had started off that bench. So when you see, bench points 20-4, that's the advantage that Arizona State is going to have all season long.
Let me tell you something else too, Will, to show just how good Arizona State's execution has been offensively. 45 points are the most first half points that ASU has scored on the road since they got 46 at Oregon back in 2010.
And those that don't know anything about Arizona State, they did go 21-12 last year, so this is a good team.
Everybody, they were picked to finish 9th in the Pac-12 this year, but Herb Sendek goes out and gets 7 new players to add to this squad.
This is not what Texas A&M needed coming right out of the time. Or, I'm sorry, it is what Texas A&M needed, not what Arizona State needed as far as a turnover. That time the young fella just penetrated a little too far and had nowhere to go with the pass.
Jones up and under. He had a good first half. Billy Kennedy has totally changed around his starting lineup. He goes with Caruso, House, Jordan, Jones, and Courtney Robertson.
But House is the one that we talked about at the beginning of the show that needs to kind of be their go-to guy. And right now their go-to guy, 1 of 3 from the floor for 2 minutes and 17 minutes of action.
Boy, and that one, Jerry Blakes, who was on the bench for a long period in the first half, dribbled it right off his foot. It's Blakes in there with Jacobson. Justice back in there at the starting point guard. Atwood is in there as well, along with Shaq McKissick. All those we mentioned off the bench, Gilling and Trey Holder both had big first halves for ASU. Nice kick, Caruso.
There you go. But again, it's the penetration that time that collapses the defense. And then Caruso does a nice job of finding the open man on the baseline.
Justice tried to create with a chicken wing. Turnover again. And the Aggies give it right back.
3 straight possessions to start off this second half for Arizona State. 3 straight turnovers. But unfortunately for Texas A&M, they've only been able to capitalize on 1 of them.
And what happened was,
they made a determination that Texas A&M never maintained possession, so the shot clock never restarted.
Boy, and Herb Sendek now asking Tony Green about that. But
the interesting thing you pointed out in that first half, which we didn't talk about, during a lot of the timeouts, Tony Green and Herb Sendek were having some serious conversations.
3 straight turnovers for the Sun Devils. They have not gotten a shot to start this second half. And an offensive foul called against the Aggies. It's Robertson on the illegal screen.
He's kind of questioning that call. I thought he did a pretty nice job of having his feet set, but the official was standing there right in front of the play. Now, I can say as a player, I didn't necessarily agree with the officials much any.
Like Annie.
This is usually.
Wow. Justice caught that one in rhythm. And I believe, that's his second. 2 of 3 for Cody Justice from outside the arc. And not surprisingly, Arizona State hits its first triple.
Nice job that time by Green. Penetrating. Goes low. Look at that defense right there by Caruso.
How about Alex Caruso? Not only is he a hometown kid, he's an energy guy. He's an unselfish guy. His teammates and these fans, they love him here in his hometown of College Station.
But they need to capitalize on these turnovers on the offensive end of the floor.
So now Caruso causing some problems. That's forced Justice back to the bench. And Trey Holder, the lightning quick point guard for ASU, back in there. Gilling back in there for Arizona State as well. Uh-oh.
How does that guy get open? That is unbelievable. I mean, not only is that bad defense, that's just bad communication. After what he did in the first half, 3 for 4 from behind the arc, shooting 60% on the season, how does he continue to get open out on the perimeter?
House trying to create.
You know, it's interesting. House has only played 3 games prior to today because he got that waiver on November 21st. He's a transfer from Houston. But he still had the ability to practice with this team every day.
Right.
And he just seems very uncertain when he's out there as far as, do I shoot? Do I pass? Do I look to attack the basket? And again, we talked about this prior to this game starting, as Billy Kennedy said, this is the guy I need to be our go-to guy. He hit that game-winning shot against Sam Houston State. But yet the uncertainty that he plays with is very surprising.
Jerry for his 3rd foul. And Blakes goes to the bench.
But this is also a guy, Courtney Robertson, that they need to get going.
Sure.
Another guy, only had 1 shot attempt in the first half for 2 points. If you're struggling to score, get the ball into the post and work from the inside out, not the outside in.
One thing A&M has not been able to do, and that's stop the great equalizer, the 3-point basket. 9 of 15 are the Sun Devils, including 2 for 2 here in the second half.
Again, the 4th turnover in this half by Arizona State.
Caruso got in trouble.
Well, you can see the frustration on Caruso's face. He realized once he had committed to attack the basket that he had made a mistake, but luckily he can throw it off the defender and still maintain possession of the ball. 31 seconds on the shot clock.
Jalen Jones goes out. Peyton Allen with the basketball back in there for A&M.
Well, they're looking for some shooting. Peyton Allen is their best shooter from long range.
House creates and then committed the foul as he went over the back, or no, they say is out of bounds.
You know, you could have gone either way, but fortunately for them, he just says, we'll just let you take it out. But again, he's trying to find ways to score. That time he had exerted so much energy to get to the basket, he had nothing left, so he couldn't finish once he got there.
House 1 for 5 from the field, does not have a rebound. Boy, look at the ball movement.
But you also got to realize long shots produce long rebounds. If you can't get offensive rebounds, you pay the price just like that right there.
Are you kidding me?
But that's just demoralizing for a defense. You get a team to shoot a basket like that, they miss, and you don't get the offensive rebound, and then they put the dagger in your heart.
With the 6'1" guard, listed at 6'1", getting the flat-footed rebound. House got it back. Nice feed. Caruso found Dylan Johns, who just checked in.
But Caruso needs some help from somewhere, Dave. Another turnover by Arizona State, but again, and Texas A&M capitalize, and I think that was backcourt right there.
Boy,
Texas A&M got away with it.
There's Daniel House.
And maybe that will help get him going.
His only 2 buckets of the game.
And now you're having for Texas A&M the opposite of what was going on in the first half. In the first half, Texas A&M couldn't make stops, so they couldn't catch up. Now they're making the stops, but they're struggling to consistently score off the turnovers.
Herb Sendek senses a turn. House finally connects. The Aggies trying to battle back. Arizona State has got an 8-point lead here in College Station against Texas A&M. Dave Baker, Will Purdue, our entire SEC Network crew, and time to take a look at today's Good Hands play. It's brought to you by Allstate.
Look at that, the smallest guy on the floor comes in, realizes because whereas he watches the arc of the ball, sees it come off, everybody for Texas A&M crashes the boards. You got to realize long shots produce long rebounds. You have to rebound an area sometimes, Dave, when you know that the team's dropping down threes so that you can pick up those long rebounds. At times, if you just turn and run in, you're going to watch the ball go right over your head. What's just happened there?
Here's the deal, Will. Rebounding numbers, 20 to 12 is the advantage for Arizona State. The Sun Devils have hit 10 of 17 three-pointers. It's the fourth game this year they've hit 10 or more three-pointers. And they've got 10 three-point field goals in this game and 9 two-point field goals. That is an equation that spells big trouble for any opponent. And despite that, A&M continuing to hang around. Barnes never got his feet set.
Let's see what you can do here at Texas A&M. You get him to miss a shot, luckily, even though he was wide open. Can you score some points?
Caruso with a kick out.
But again, much like you saw Arizona State in that first half, it's that penetration that collapses the defense. Peyton Allen, the freshman, does a nice job of rotating and finding the open area.
A&M would be in a world of hurt without Alex Caruso. But the world of hurt for Arizona State has come in the form of the freshman Trey Holder. He has been more than a nuisance when he's put the ball on the deck. A chance to finish the and one when we come right back. 56-49, Arizona State on top of Texas A&M. Fans, tune in Sunday as the SEC ESPN Network brings you a rewind of a classic SEC game. 1992, Alabama and Florida. It was the inaugural SEC championship game. Nothing says SEC like a little head ball coach versus Gene Stallings. It's Sunday at 8. The SEC ESPN Network. Also available on Watch ESPN. Alex Caruso has played, beyond solid, despite the early foul trouble for A&M. 10 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds.
And he's been the guy that's solely responsible for this team getting back into this game. Arizona State, 6 turnovers early here in the second half. Texas A&M's done a nice job of regrouping and making things happen on the defensive end of the floor. Texas A&M slowly chipping away at this deficit.
Dylan John's in there with House, Robinson, Allen, and Caruso. A lineup we've not seen much this year from Billy Kennedy. Robinson had it blocked as Jacobson got it.
Well, the big man did a nice job of sliding over and helping from the backside. Look how he moves his feet. You're going to get beat by the guard, but stick with it and knock it out of bounds. That's where Robinson's got to turn around and throw himself into the body of the big man, try to get the contact and the foul.
Shot clock at 1. And I don't think he got it off. They said he did. Wow.
And it certainly didn't look like it. It looked like that ball was still in his hands as the clock expired.
Arizona State, their balance has been the difference, though. They've played 9 players. Every one of them's gotten a rebound. 8 of the 9 have scored. And just about everybody who's touched it has been able to knock it down from outside the arc.
And then after that shot right there, 3 Aggies players look over at the bench and look at Coach and ask him, what do we do? It's almost like there's some miscommunication defensively.
Sun Devils had it for a minute, but Caruso got it back. And for the second time in as many trips, Jacobson gets a block.
But that's where the big fella, Dylan Johns, you got to take it up much stronger than that, my man. You're almost 7 feet. You tried to throw up a little finger roll. You got to take that thing to the basket strong, get the contact, try to dunk it on somebody. I think there's an issue. They're talking about the shot clock. The officials head on over to the scorer's table.
The shot clock actually reset, and it shouldn't have. Right? There you go.
Yeah, it didn't come anywhere close to hitting the rim.
Tony Green still taking a look over there. Texas A&M led early by 5.
I mean, the number is staggering, Dave. 11 of 19 for the Sun Devils behind the arc.
They've got more three-point baskets than they do two-point baskets.
I mean, as an opposing coach, Billy Kennedy, sometimes you just got to hang your head and just go, wow. Because then, as we saw in that first half, if he tries to extend his defense too far, Arizona State has the athletes and the guys, Trey Holden being one of them, that can then get past that initial line of defense and get into the perimeter, and then they start getting layups.
Barnes whistled for that foul. As Jalen Jones comes back in. House goes out.
House is really struggling, but Jones, he has shown the ability to score some points, but his defense is not as good as House's.
Talked about Billy Kennedy hanging your head. You can't hang your head against this bunch. Somebody will shoot it and make a three. I mean, crazy. I don't know what the high is for made threes in a game this year nationally. But this has been quite a performance to this point. And we've still got over 11 minutes to go.
He did a nice job getting it in. Just cannot get the roll, but a good job that time by Davis, tracking it down.
Jones stayed with it. And Caruso draws the contact. And that, kind of a microcosm, Will, of the way this game has been. Arizona State knocking down the shots. A&M battling to stay alive.
31 and 33 at the end of the clock. They're always coming to the ball. All right, so you can't turn your head and lose them. Whoever's got 31 and 33, you can't lose them.
Billy Kennedy is part of our SEC Wired. He's talking about John Gilling and Bo Barnes, who've been knocking down the triples, but then again, Will Purdue, just about everybody who stepped on the court for ASU has knocked down a triple today.
They did, but you heard him talk about turning your head. You're supposed to, in the defensive principles, see man and ball at all times, especially guys that can shoot the ball that well from behind the arc. But the problem is the penetration for Arizona State is collapsing the defense, and your defense is supposed to be on a string. So when you're on a string, you have to cover for somebody. But as he's talking about, those guys are moving towards the end of the shot clock. And a lot of times what you're seeing is, whether it's the left side of the floor or the right side of the floor, those guys are rotating up, free throw line extended behind the three-point line. It's not like they're out there hiding somewhere.
Right.
It's the responsibility of the coaching staff and the players on the bench to let their teammates know where these guys are when that penetration does collapse the defense, so that the guys on the floor know where to run to and approximately what areas you can find those two players.
Alex Caruso knocks down a couple of free throws to get it back into single digits. And despite everything we've talked about, still plenty of time, and the game's still in perspective for A&M. Gilling rushed that one, and look at his buddy Barnes, 31 and 33 that we just heard Billy Kennedy talk about.
Yeah, you can call that a missed shot or you can call it a pass. Take your pick. But when you get a team to miss a shot like that,
you would call it a pass.
But it's just, you can't allow that to happen.
Nice play, Jalen Jones, as he got it off the glass.
But you do a good job on the defensive end of forcing Arizona State to take a contested shot. But then you give up an offensive rebound for a putback. So that's actually a 4-point turnaround. The 2 points that they score and the 2 points, maybe a 5-point turnaround to the 3 that you should have had on the other end.
That time Holder over-penetrated and got caught in the air. Let me ask you one thing, Will. Take a look at Barnes.
So he comes in from the weak side. and picks up the loose ball as Texas A&M is trying to fight for position.
So Holder turned it over at one end. He gets called for the hold at the other end as Justice checks back in.
And guess who's getting the hook?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, A&M has continued to play really hard. How difficult is it when a team or an individual is having a shooting night like Arizona State is? I know you saw Michael Jordan do that to a bunch of people when you guys were playing together.
It's Caruso, yes.
But you got to credit A&M, I think, for just staying in it and playing hard.
Well, they're staying within striking distance, but that's their MO. That's what, you know, Billy Kennedy's known for, is getting guys to go out there and they play hard. They're gritty, they're determined, they're crafty. But the problem is when they get something positive on one end of the floor, they can't seem to capitalize on it. Now here, they've gotten a contested shot. They've picked up the defensive rebound. Can you run the offense and get yourself a good quality shot? Not a forced shot early in the shot clock, but something where you run the offense, play against the defense, and get yourself either something going at the basket or an open shot on the perimeter.
Jones, nice look off the bounce.
But it's just unlike Arizona State, who has been able to generate second chance opportunities. Texas A&M has not been able to do that here in the second half.
A rare couple of possessions for ASU without a basket. And I think you've got to credit that A&M defense, which is adjusted. Gilling.
There you go. Now look to push, look to push. Collapse the defense, get the layup. Bam!
Hello. And I think Herb Sendek's got to be thinking timeout right here.
There he goes. Were you a coach in your first life?
No.
But we've seen, this is what, in this game, the third or fourth run by Texas A&M. They've now got to be able to take this momentum and not only get themselves back into the game, but somehow find a way to get the lead and then allow this crowd and the energy from this crowd to carry them to the end.
Fans, catch the top college basketball team in the nation Sunday only on the SEC ESPN Network. It's an in-state showdown. #1 Kentucky hosting EKU in Rupp Arena. Eastern Kentucky and UK Sunday at 6. The SEC ESPN Network, and watch ESPN.
You know, Dave, you and I were talking about Kentucky and that game they had the other day, and you know, you made a valid point. I mean, it's not like their offense is flowing. It's not like it's very fluid right now, but just they have so many bodies. They have such length that the guards for Kentucky have the ability and the luxury, if they get themselves in trouble, just throw it up at the rim. There's somebody that's going to be above the rim that's going to pick it up out of the air and throw it down. And most teams in college basketball just do not have that luxury.
Those McDonald All-Americans get the knock of being coddled, but they play defense. They won last night with just one three-pointer, and it's been the defense of Texas A&M that's gotten the Aggies back in it despite 11 triples from Arizona State. 5 is the closest the Aggies have been in a long time. Shot clock at 1. And that's a violation. And coming out of the timeout, the Sun Devils do not get the shot that Herb Sendek wanted.
Well, that's the defense. That's the effort that you expect from Texas A&M. Now, can you take that energy on that defensive end of the floor and run a play offensively that's going to get you an easy 2 or quite possibly an uncontested 3?
Jones got open inside, and he was fouled. The Aggies have come storming back. A chance to cut the lead to 3. Chance to cut the Arizona State lead to 3 at the free throw line as we're at the under 8-minute timeout. Let's take a look at some SEC news and notes. You see that Kentucky score from last night. You see Willie Cauley-Stein with the 21 points. But man, he had 12 rebounds. That was a career high. Cauley-Stein then goes 9 of 12 from the free throw line. He had 21 points, as we mentioned, 5 steals, 3 blocks, in only 33 minutes.
Oh, and let's talk about what he did on defense. He was guarding Texas's best player, a 3-man, Jonathan Holmes, out past the three-point line. NBA scouts love his athleticism and his ability to play multiple positions on the defensive end of the floor.
Florida trying to struggle through injuries. And Kentucky and Arkansas in the top 25. I'm going to tell you, though, now, Will, if Texas A&M were able to come back and get a win here, they get Baylor next week along with Kansas State. If they could get through that 3-game stretch, they get into the conversation, I think.
And that's why these games are so important for Texas A&M, because as everybody's talking about, outside of Florida, outside of Kentucky, and outside of Arkansas, not many people are talking about the strength of the SEC, so they need out-of-conference wins. And if you talk about those 3 games, this one today, are very important.
Boy, and we talk so much about Arizona State and their flow and their rhythm, and credit the A&M defense, because the last 5-6 minutes, that flow has just not been there for the Sun Devils, as Herb Sendak has to take another timeout.
Well, and look at this. They've had 7 turnovers this half, which slowly but surely Texas A&M has been able to now take those turnovers and generate points. Earlier in the half, they were not able to do that. But this is a team that we know lives and dies on the defensive end of the floor because of their inconsistencies on the offense. And this is going on right now, Dave, without what many people and many coaches on this team consider to be the best player for Texas A&M, and Daniel House. 25 minutes, all of 5 points, not even on the floor at the present moment.
Sitting down there next to assistant coach Rick Stansberry. And again, this is what happens when you have depth. Oh my goodness, giant step there by Blakes. An offensive rebound by the Sun Devils.
But then you can't let a 6'3" guy come in there amongst the land of the Giants and pick up an offensive rebound.
Shot won't fall as the shot clock buzzer sounds. And now A&M with just a little extra hop in their step.
How about this, though? Still 7 minutes to go in this game.
Robertson off the screen. And that jumper by Jones. And 2 points is the closest that A&M has been since it was 21-18 with 10:57 to play in the first half. And a call is going against Robertson.
Oh, how about Robertson's the one that comes off the screen, and because of that, Arizona State has to switch, and by switching, the big man for Arizona State, Jacobson, doesn't want to leave the basket area, so then ends up having to get away from the man, which allows Texas A&M to knock down an open jump shot. Jones had a nice impact offensively so far for Texas A&M.
You see Daniel House checking back in. McKissick. And all of a sudden, Arizona State can't buy a bucket.
Let's see, House going to shoot that? He just came back in the game.
Last time we were tied, it was 15-15. Robinson for the lead. And Texas A&M has come all the way back.
Well, I tell you, that's a big mountain for them to climb, but now with 5:50 to go in this game, how much energy does Texas A&M have left in the tank in order to try to finish this game?
Just the 3rd lead change of the afternoon. Aggies' first lead since the 14-minute mark of the first half. Shot clock at 2. And Gilling has really lost the rein.
But nice job that time by Jones. He could not get that rebound, but he was able to keep his man off the boards and tap it until somebody else for Texas A&M could come and grasp it. Listen, they're running the same play that just worked last time. If it works, try it again.
And a foul underneath. Trey Holder and Jerry Blakes check back in for Arizona State. Justice goes to the bench, and Billy Kennedy is going to take a 30-second timeout.
Well, Arizona State's gotten shaken up, took it up here by the defense of Texas A&M, but that time Jacobson spent a little time talking to the officials. They need to kind of get back to the huddle and get themselves regrouped. Now listen, as well, and I know this is after the fact, but you know this, I know this, every coach out there knows this, that the three ball is fool's gold. Because if you can continue to play defense and continue to extend your defense, a team's not going to be able to shoot that well the whole game. But when you continue to knock down so many threes, you have a tendency to forget about other parts of your game. What was making Arizona State so effective in that first half was their ability to penetrate. We haven't seen much penetration lately. We've seen the ball passing around on the wing, shooting long threes late in the shot clock.
There you see ASU. Those three players with 10-plus points, two of them are guys that come off the bench. For most of the game, Arizona State has had more threes than two-point baskets. Now those are all even. But Alex Caruso with just, a really top-notch game. 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. And that time, not his best pass as Dylan Johns couldn't handle it.
But also, that's just the lack of experience from Dylan Johns, and that's the lack of playing time between those two guys together, not knowing where to go. Johns wasn't even expecting that pass.
But you don't give, as you can attest, you don't give the 6'11" guy a bounce pass.
Well, not off the shins, no.
You guys like it up high, about eye level. Robinson. And that's a nice box out by Blakes.
Johns has got to be careful.
And Bo Barnes gets the first bucket for Arizona State in a while.
But that was a good job by Jacobson, though. Getting down into the block, spinning baseline side because he saw the double coming, and then finding the open man on the other side.
Caruso open on the back door.
Nice job. The defense overplayed on the top. They didn't want him to get off the shot, so he cuts baseline, no help.
Blakes.
Tough shot that time by Blakes. It's good defense by Texas A&M. Sometimes you just kind of have to shake your head and say, hey, good defense, better offense, get to the other end of the floor.
Into the zone for our final media timeout. All the momentum now with A&M. Oh my gosh. Alex Caruso with a season high in points. 21 on 8 of 9 shooting. And the Aggies force a turnover.
I'm not sure. You think that Caruso is fired up? Look at this, between the legs, gets himself in rhythm, splash down.
A&M has come from 13 points down to take a 68-66 lead with 3:21 to go. Dave Baker, Will Purdue back here with you at Reed Arena in College Station. And there's an interested observer. That's Mike Caruso, Alex's dad, next to Dave South. Mike is working radio today for the Texas A&M Network. He played for Eddie Sutton and Creighton. And boy, has he seen his son put on a show.
And he really has. And let's not forget, he got himself in foul trouble, had to sit about 9 minutes in that first half, but he's 8 of 9 from the field, 2 of 3 from behind the arc, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals to go along with his 21 points.
We mentioned Dad played for Eddie Sutton at Creighton, came here to get into athletics at A&M, and so Alex was a ball boy here at Reed Arena.
And you talk about he's a local boy. Now, you've taken, what was this at one point, what was the biggest?
13.
13
13.
To a 2-point lead. Now continue to do what you're doing.
Arizona State changes up defense off the timeout.
1-3-1, but they're looking to try to extend. You should get easy bucket shots at the bucket. Man, Jones had a good look, just couldn't get it to roll.
And look at Caruso diving into the Arizona State bench to get a hand on that basketball.
I think you say that. There's that man.
Yeah, that guy.
Gets a bead on it, gets his hand out there, knocks that ball out of bounds.
Good coaching on both sides as A&M has changed up its defense out of the timeout as well.
What they're trying to do is extend their defense. It looks like a 1-2-2, but it's an extended 2-3.
Oh, and that is a big shot for Jerry Blakes, the junior college transfer, with just his 3rd bucket of the game and his first triple.
Now this time down, Arizona State's in a man-to-man, trying to change up their defense, keep Texas A&M off balance.
And a foul will send A&M to the line.
And this is another area where A&M has struggled as a team, only shooting 64% on the season.
Last year, Will, A&M was 62% from the free throw line. That was last in the SEC. And House looking for a towel to dry his hands off.
You talk about that's a kid right now that's shooting 64%. He needs to come away with at least 1 or 2 of these right now to at least even this lead up.
Missed the first one. House now 8 out of 12 from the free throw line on the season.
You don't need to have possessions where you come away empty-handed. You missed the first. Now knock down this second one. Tie this score up at 69.
Arizona State 7 of 8 from the free throw line. A&M now 10 of 16. And we are tied for the 4th time today. Great basketball game here in College Station. Glad you've joined us on the SEC Network. Blakes forced that one.
A nice job by House, though, staying in front of Blakes, contesting that shot. That time A&M comes out in a man-to-man to try to pick up their aggressiveness on the defensive end of the floor, and it pays off.
All even with 2 minutes to go. Caruso working on Blakes, and he threw it away. Blakes again. And an offensive rebound gives the Sun Devils an extra possession with 1:30 to go. Caruso, the man of the day, missed the dunk.
Wow. How often do you see that? He didn't even make it over to the front of the rim. He just jumped way too early. Look at this. Arizona State running the swinging gate off the top of the key. There's Caruso again.
Got another hand on it. Can he finish this one? How about that kid fighting back after something he's got to be embarrassed about?
Well, what we're forgetting to mention is the previous time down the floor before the missed dunk, he had the turnover. This kid doesn't care what happens. He just keeps his nose to the grindstone and keeps playing hard.
He has got a short memory. And it has been a tough afternoon for Dad.
Look at this. Gets his hand in the passing lane. I think that's his 6th steal of the game. This kid today is a stat stuffer. The good thing is he makes that steal and he takes it in. He protects the ball with his body, and then thus separates the defender from the ball and is able to finish with his right hand off the glass.
There you see the reset. Arizona State out of timeouts. A&M still with 3 in pocket. And you can't blame Herb Sendek. He's been trying to stop the run. But you talked about Caruso. 23 points, 9 of 11 from the field. 2 of 3 from outside the three-point line. And then check these numbers out, Will. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 steals, 29 minutes, and the shortest memory in all of college basketball.
And I have this feeling that with 41.5 seconds to go in this game, we still will hear it from him again. Now he's a cheerleader. What does this kid not do? Does he have a part-time job when he's not playing?
I guess Dad could set him up in the athletics department, huh? Turning off lights or something.
Is he got to go home and do the dishes when this game's over?
All right, so here we go. Gilling to inbound. 41.5 to play.
And if you're Billy Kennedy, the head coach of Texas A&M, you would like nothing better than to rely on your defense to now help you make a stop and win this game.
They were mopping up some moisture in front of the Arizona State bench after that timeout. Remember, ASU without a timeout. Their best three-point shooters are in there. Holder gets free. And that is a good foul. No, Robinson looked at the bench. I think that's a good foul.
He comes out. Well, watch how he jumps into the defender to initiate the contact, get the whistle, and then just throws it up at the basket. He doesn't jump just straight up. He jumped right to left to make sure he would get that contact.
Holder only 5 of 11 from the stripe this year. Herb Sendek believes that had his team shot free throws better, they would have won the 2 games they lost in Kansas City to Maryland and to Alabama. But Holder hits the first, and Billy Kennedy takes a 30-second timeout.
You go back to that Maryland game, they gave up 13 offensive rebounds, but to your point, they lose to Alabama 76-71. Free throws were Alabama 26 of 29, Arizona State 14 of 24. They missed 10.
You may have seen the clock moving. They just had to reset it. You probably had the same reaction I did, like, what in the world is going on? Number 19, Georgia hosts 16th ranked Michigan State. Andy Landers got the Dogs off to a great start. Michigan State looking to pull the upset in Athens. Michigan State, Georgia. It's Sunday at 4, only on the SEC ESPN network, where you get great action like this. A super college basketball game on a Saturday afternoon. And Texas A&M with a 1-point lead over Arizona State. And Holder has hit all 7 of his free throws. We're all even at 71. And A&M is going to take a timeout. Arizona State out of timeouts. A&M will take a full timeout.
Now, what I don't understand is I thought for sure that because of the time frame of which Billy called the first timeout in between the 2 free throws, that he would set up his offense and look to make or miss by Arizona State, push it down the floor before Arizona State could get back and set it up. But he comes down again, sets up another timeout, and wants to run a play against a set-up defense by the Sun Devils.
I understand what you're saying, but let me say this. And that happens more at that NBA level. If you come down and do that, then you run the risk of not having the ball in your hands to take the last shot, which I think is what Billy Kennedy's interested in doing.
Well, there's no doubt about that, but that's where you develop that trust amongst your team,
right,
of them knowing what to do.
Texas A&M picked to finish 9th in the preseason in the SEC. At that point in time, though, folks didn't know that Daniel House was going to be eligible. House didn't know he was going to be eligible.
The one thing is, you talk to the coaching staff from Texas A&M, they think that maybe outside of Florida, Kentucky, and what we've seen from Arkansas, they could be that next team on the list. And as you and I have talked about during this game, they have this game today against Arizona State. They have a game against Baylor coming up. They have a game against Kansas State. These games are important for them to win so that they can improve on their strength of schedule, their RPI ranking, and everything else that happens.
So House is back in there. House, Robertson, Caruso, Jones, and Robinson. It's Jacobson, Atwood, Holder, Blakes, and Barnes, and Arizona State goes zone.
Now they're going to back it up. Probably wait till about 10 seconds on the game clock and then look to attack.
And I got to believe that guy with the basketball is going to do the attacking. Blakes with a defensive assignment on Caruso. Robertson off the give and go, and he's fouled.
But as you talked about, it was initiated by Caruso as he came off the screen. He sees the penetration. Whoa, I don't know about that one there, Dave. I think that quite possibly when you talk about being able to set your feet, Jacobson might have gotten over there and done a nice job.
Okay, so Jacobson fouls out. Arizona State out of timeouts, so they can't freeze the shooter. And Courtney Robertson goes to the free throw line. He's now 10 of 19 on the day.
Now you watch this. Big man Jacobson slides over. I think he's there. I think what you might want to say is that could be a little home cooking for the Aggies. Not that the officials did that intentionally, but it's a bang-bang play. But at home, they get that call.
All right, so Robertson at the free throw line. He's 10 of 19 on the year. And he didn't draw iron. Whatever happens.
Hold on a second. I'm going to defend him. I think he drew the left front edge of the iron.
Okay. What I was going to say, though, is whatever happens here, Arizona State doesn't have a timeout to set up a play. So they're going to have 5.1 seconds to do something.
Well, they're drawing up a play right now because Billy Kennedy just gave them an opportunity to use his timeout to draw up a play. But at the same time, Billy Kennedy called that timeout
to set his defense.
Because he wants to set his defense and try to tell his guys, this is what they're probably going to do, and this is how we want to defend it. Now, the guy I would keep an eye on for Arizona State is number 0, Trey Holder. He's the guy that has the speed. He's the guy that can get it from one end of the floor to the other in about 3 seconds, penetrate, and quite possibly find somebody open on the perimeter if he can't get himself all the way to the bucket.
Robertson got the second one. Both teams out of timeout. A&M gets Jordan Green in there for defense. They send Robertson to the bench. So here's Jones to guard the basketball. Gilling will throw it in. Holder, fastest man on the court. 3 for the win. And it's short. And Texas A&M comes from 13 points down to get a huge win for Billy Kennedy and company as they run their record to 6-1. And Alex Caruso with a monster game. 23 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 6 steals.
But how about the senior, Courtney Robertson, steps up to the free throw line, barely draws iron on the first one. You called it an air ball, but then has the initiative, the guts to forget about it, then step up and hit the second one.
Holder has been so good at penetrating. And sometimes, you know, you talk about knowing scoring situation, Will. He may have been better off to do what he's done all day and blow by everybody and go to the rim.
Well, and probably would have had a better opportunity to maybe get some contact and get the call from the official himself.
Great job by our crew here today. Great working with Will Perdue again, and a great comeback for Texas A&M as the Aggies win their 5th straight. Led by Alex Caruso, they run their record to 6-1. Arizona State falls to 5-3. Caruso had the 2 big miscues late, but he forgot about it and led his team to the win. A&M knocks off Arizona State 72-71. So long from College Station, everybody.